Hello everyone, welcome to ENC 1101 class, and this time we have another lesson in grammar, which is quite essential, especially when you are writing essays, reports, or research papers. Okay, so without much talking, I'm gonna go ahead and share you my screen so we can get started. All right. So our lesson for today has something to do with these three punctuations, comma, semicolon, and colons. But who cares? Why should we use these punctuations? Using punctuation is like pausing between words and ideas when you speak. Imagine if you didn't take pause between words and sentences when speaking. Would that be an effective communication? Imagine someone is running her mouth or his mouth, okay? He keeps on talking nonstop. You think you would understand that person? I doubt it, never. Okay, that's why it is quite important to make these pauses, especially in writing. So, just bird's eye view, commas are used to separate ideas, to set up special elements, and to set up quotations. Whereas a colon is used to introduce list of items after the greeting of a business letter and to separate hours and minutes in time expressions. A semicolon is used to join two related sentences, each with balanced meaning. We are going to elaborate on these lessons as we move forward. Okay, let's start with comma. Okay, the first rule, we use a comma to set up elements of series. When we say series, we are enumerating a list. If you have three or more lists, then we need to use a comma. But if you only have two, then a comma is not necessary. Let me repeat. If you are giving a series or listing items, three or more items, then a comma is necessary. Like this example. My favorite uses of the internet are, number one, sending email, comma, surfing the web, comma, and using chat rooms. Take note of this. Before the word end, if you look at my PowerPoint, if you look at the word end, there should be a comma before end. Okay? When I was in high school, we were taught that comma is not needed when it comes to this kind of sentence or this kind of example. But that was corrected when I was in college and even when I was pursuing my master's and PhD. Most of our professors, they highly recommend that we need to use a comma before end. Okay? I have another example or examples. My favorite places to visit are Key West, Florida, comma, New York, comma, Los Angeles, comma, and San Francisco. So I am enumerating places. Key West, comma, there's supposed to be a comma because again, it's a city and state. So Key West, Florida, comma, New York, comma, Los Angeles, and comma, and then of course in San Francisco. The sentence is not correct. Okay, let me correct that. I like eating at McDonald's. So now we have a series of places or fast foods. I like eating at McDonald's, comma, KFC, comma, Wendy's, comma, and Burger King. Again, take note of the comma before the word end. Okay, so that's the first rule. Now, if you are using two sentences or if you are combining two sentences, we call them independent clauses. Again, independent clause is similar to a complete sentence. So now we're talking about two independent clauses or two sentences. If you are fusing or combining these two sentences using this conjunction, and, but, or, nor, for, yet, and so, there is a comma before these conjunctions. Again, if you are combining two independent sentences, then which is actually joined by these conjunctions, either and, but, or, nor, for, yet, and so, there should be a comma before this conjunction. Like this example. The public seems eager for some kind of gun control legislation. That is one complete sentence. And then there's another sentence. The Congress is obviously too timid to enact any truly effective measures. So there are two sentences being combined by the word but right here. So before the word but, there should be a comma. Again, two sentences, one sentence right here, and then there's and or but, and then another sentence, and there should be a comma before the word and or but, okay? I have another example. Rose is a very intelligent student. That's one sentence, comma, and she is a dense lister, okay? So there's a missing article right here, so let's correct that. She is a dense lister. Okay, so this is one sentence right here. Rose is a very intelligent student. I have another sentence. She is a dense lister. So I'm combining these two sentences, and then I'm using the word and. If you have the word and, make sure there is a comma before it, okay? Here's another example. Tao is from China. That's one complete sentence, okay? And then there's another sentence that I'm trying to connect. Now she lives in the USA. So I'm using the word but to connect these two sentences. Therefore, I need to use a punctuation, which is a comma before the word but, okay? Leo likes to play sports. Again, another complete sentence. And then there's another sentence, which is being connected. She is an athlete. So I'm using the word and. Therefore, I'm going to use a comma before and. Okay, I hope this is quite clear. The next rule, use a comma to set up introductory elements. When you say introductory elements, the introduction is not a complete sentence. It's only a phrase or group of words. Okay, so a group of words and then the actual sentence. And before the actual sentence, there should be a comma after this introductory element. Like this example. This is a very long introductory element. Anxious about the upcoming winter. Okay, so that is not a complete sentence. So this is the intro sentence or intro element. Anxious about the upcoming winter. We put a comma and then followed by the complete sentence. Settlers began to bicker among themselves about supplies. So remember, if you have an introductory element or phrase before the actual sentence, there should be a comma, okay, in between them. Here's another example. In the winter of 1644, again, in the winter of 1644 is an introductory element. It's not a sentence, okay? So if you have this kind of examples, an introductory element or phrase, put a comma before the actual sentence. I know I may be sounding like a broken DVD. I need to re-emphasize or reinforce these rules. Nearly half the settlers died of starvation and exposure. So this is the actual sentence. It's separated by a comma. Okay, I have another example right here. Usually every weekend, it's an introductory phrase. It's not a complete sentence. Comma, I go to the beach. Okay, usually every weekend, comma, I go to the beach. In 1980, my parents migrated to the United States or USA. So in 1980, it's a phrase. It's not a complete sentence. Okay. In the meantime, let's enjoy the music. So in the meantime is a phrase. So whenever you're using phrases like this or introductory phrases, again and again, comma is necessary. Of course, I would love to go out with you. I would love to go out with all of you, actually. So the expressions like, of course, absolutely, put a comma and then the actual sentence, okay? Frankly speaking, comma, and then the actual sentence, okay? Because her alarm clock was broken, she was late for class. This is a long phrase, Okay, it's a long phrase. It's not a complete sentence. We don't usually, again, the reason why this is not a complete sentence, we don't start out our sentence by saying, because her alarm was broken. If you end your sentence like that, doesn't make any sense. Okay, because her alarm was broken. What happened? Now, what happened? She was late for class, and that is the complete sentence. Okay. Another, if you are ill, you ought to see a doctor. So if you are ill, you ought to see the doctor, or you should see a doctor. So if you are ill is a phrase, it's an introductory phrase, with a comma. You ought to see a doctor. Yes, the package should arrive tomorrow morning. So again, expressions like yes, not a period, but we put a comma, even with the use of, even if your response is no. Okay. I hope everything is clear at this point. So this time, the other rule, we have coordinate adjectives. When you say adjectives, these are descriptive words. Okay, words like lovely, nice, wonderful, gorgeous, stunning, spectacular, wonderful. These are all adjectives. Okay, like this example. Coaches grew weary of running practices in the drafty, dreary, dilapidated gymnasium. So we have a drafty, dreary, dilapidated gymnasium. So if you have a series of adjectives like this, a comma is necessary. Okay. The designs for expensive, that's one description or adjective. Modern, another description. Gym should make them happy. So we have two adjectives here, or adjectives. So expensive, comma, modern, gym should make them happy. I have more examples. Okay. The cute little dog is very sick. So we have two adjectives right here. A series of adjectives, cute and little. So make sure there's a comma in between two adjectives. Here's another one. We have three adjectives here.
I found this on the web. For cute and little soul next sugar is a comma in between two adjectives. Check it.
Okay. Siri responded. Siri thought I was talking to him. My Siri's a guy. Okay, so excuse. The smart, good-looking, affluent politician will gain a lot of supporters. So smart, comma, good-looking, comma, affluent politician will gain a lot of supporters. So we have three adjective coordinates right here. Your cousin has an easy, happy smile. Two. So separate them. Easy, comma, then happy. He was a difficult, stubborn child. So we have two coordinate adjectives here. Difficult, comma, and stubborn. So the next rule, use a comma to set up elements that express a contrast or a turn in the sentence. So when you say contrasting, one is a positive sentence, one is a negative sentence, or vice versa. One negative, one positive, and make sure you use a comma. Okay, like this example. The house was cute. That's something positive. Put a comma, which is actually signifies contrast. We use a conjunction, but too expensive for the newlyweds. So again, there are two contrasting information right here. One is positive, one is negative, and these two contrasting ideas are joined by the word but. Okay, so the house was cute, that's a positive, comma, but too expensive for the newlyweds. Another example, they were looking for something practical, not luxurious. Okay, so practical, it's something positive, comma, not luxurious. I have more examples here. He was merely ignorant, not stupid. Okay, ignorant here signifies something positive. Okay, or something like negative. Not stupid, something positive. So it's contrasting. You're one of the senator's close friends, aren't you? So this is quite obvious. Positive and negative. The speaker seemed innocent, even gullible. So contrasting ideas right here. Again, we use a comma to separate two contrasting ideas, okay? The next rule, this is very easy, okay? Set of states and countries, years, and a full date. Entitled. So like this one here. The conference was originally set for Geneva, Switzerland. So Geneva, comma, Switzerland, but was then rescheduled for Chicago, comma, Illinois. Like Jacksonville, comma, Florida. Orange Park, comma, Florida. Orlando, comma, Florida. Okay? Of course, this is a very common when you are giving dates, complete date, like say August 5 or August the 5th, comma, and then 2020. Okay, so that's how we do that. This is very easy. This is the easiest of them all. Okay, like this example is Shanghai, China, Manila, Philippines, Busan, Korea, Jacksonville, Florida. Okay, when you do your narrative essay, especially when you are doing some dialogues or quotations, this is quite substantial. You need to remember this. So, this example, look at this example right here. Frost, Poems, Fire and Ice begins with the lines, some say the world will end in fire, some say in ice. Before the actual quotation, we use a comma. Okay, before the actual quotation, there should be a comma. Who's saying who? So the lines said, comma, and then the actual quotation. Now here we have a reverse right here. Okay, reverse. If you start with a quote, and then the punctuation should be inside the quotation marks. Like this example here. Fire when ready, Gridley, comma, then the quotation mark, the admiral said. Okay. We can see into the future. The comma is inside the punctuation. Said the president. Then comma, because there's another quote. Comma before the actual quote. Okay, but we have to prepare for it nonetheless. So again, remember this. Before the actual quotation, there should be a comma. Some people are using colon, but most of the time they use comma. Now, if you start the quotation, if your sentence starts with a quotation, make sure the comma is inside the quotation. Okay? Like this examples. Rose said, comma, what did she say? Rose said, comma, then come back here. We reverse it, come back here, comma, quotation said Rose. Okay? In 1848, remember, in 1848 is an introductory element. In 1848, comma, Marx wrote. What did he write? We put the comma right here and then the actual quotation. Workers of the world unite. Okay? Now, when we have parenthetical element or elements, this is just like an additional information. Okay? Parenthetical elements, we call it a positive. An appositive is a phrase that gives extra information about our subject. Again, an appositive phrase is a phrase that gives added information to our subject. Like this example right here. Our main subject is Robert Frost. Okay, this is our subject, Robert Frost. The added information, starting from perhaps America's most beloved poet, this is the appositive or added information. If you are adding information like this, there should be comma before the added information and after the added information. So this one here is the appositive. Perhaps America's most beloved poet. Make sure, comma before and after. Okay, comma before and comma after the appositive. Okay, I have another example of an appositive. frankly, this is like another expression that we talked about a while ago. Okay. Okay. Here's another example. I'm warning you. You is referring to good citizens of Hartford. So here's an extra information about the word you. Who are you referring to? Good citizens of Hartford. So before the added information, comma, and after the added information, you add comma. Okay? And that's what we call a positive. Like this example, Tao, an ELP student. ELP stands for English language. Tao, an English language student, comma, is majoring in accounting. So an ELP student right here is an added information about this subject. Remember, again and again, I may be sounding like a broken DVD. You have to put a comma before the added information and after. Okay? Here, Tom, who is Tom? Comma, the captain of the team, comma, was injured in the game. So captain of the team is an added information about our subject, Tom. And this is, again, we call it a positive, okay? Professor Benson, grinning from ear to ear, announced that the exam would be tomorrow. So the grinning from ear to ear is an added information, added description about the professor. His grinning from ear to ear. Okay? So remember, before and after. Another example, my niece wearing a yellow jumpsuit, so it's another description about my niece, is playing in the living room. So wearing a yellow jumpsuit, there is a comma before and after. One last rule, don't overuse commas. When a comma is needed, use it. Otherwise, do without. Okay? And here are some other things that you need to remember about commas. And if you need to review this video, please feel free. Okay? Don't use a comma to separate subject from the verb. Okay? An 18-year-old in California, is now considered an adult. Do not separate the subject from the verb, okay? There should be no comma here. Another, the most important attribute of a ball player is quick reflex actions. There should be no comma needed here, okay? No need to put a comma in this kind of examples. Another, don't put a comma between two verbs or verb phrases in a compound predicate. What do we mean by that? We laid out our music and snacks and began to study. This is wrong. Okay? We laid out our music and snacks and began to study. You are trying to separate two verbs right here. That's very wrong. Another example, I turned the corner and ran smack into a patrol car. So the two verbs right here, turn and ran, are two verbs. We're not supposed to split them by using a comma. A comma here is not necessary. Okay? This time, let's talk about semicolons and colons. Like other punctuation marks, semicolons and colons are important because they help writing clear. So this is the symbol for semicolon. One dot on top, and then on the bottom part is a comma. And this is a colon. So let's talk about semicolons. I'm sure some of you are confused whether you're supposed to write or use a comma or semicolon or colon for that matter. Okay, we use a semicolon, okay, if we are combining two independent clauses. Again, when we talk about independent clauses, we are talking about complete sentences. Okay, so if you are combining two sentences and you don't want to use conjunctions like and or but, then you are going to use semicolon. Again, if you're combining two related sentences and you don't feel like using and but, so, and other conjunctions use a semicolon. Let me give you an example. Okay? The clouds are moving in. That's one sentence. Okay? Let's head home. That's another sentence. You're combining them, but you don't want to use in, but, for, nor, or so, or yet. You don't want to use all of them. All you got to do is use a semicolon. Okay, why? There are two sentences being combined and they are related to each other. The clouds are moving in. Semicolon. Let's head home. Okay? Again, only two related sentences. If you're combining two related sentences, use semicolon. If they're not related at all, use a period. Okay, let's try this one here. This is incorrect. Do not touch the tree frog. Everyone stay together. Okay, there is a punctuation, semicolon. There are two sentences, but are they related in meaning? Do not touch that free trot. I'm sorry. Do not touch that tree frog. Okay, and then the next sentence, everyone stay together. It has nothing to do with the first sentence, so they are not related. They're irrelevant. So, therefore, you're not going to use a semicolon here. Use a period instead. Okay, like this example. So, because these are two unrelated sentences, then to separate them, use a period instead. I have more examples. Okay, look at this sentence right here. Do not touch the tree frog. It may be poisonous. Okay, two sentences. Are they related in meaning? Yes, we're still talking about the tree frog. It may be poisonous. So you're lazy to use the word and. So a plus to have a variation in your sentences. Just don't keep on using and, but, and stuff like that. So use a punctuation, semicolon, to combine two sentences, okay? Related sentences, that is. Okay, so this is actually perfect. Okay, now let's try this one here. Bring a sweater, it will be cold tonight. So where are we supposed to put the semicolon? There are two sentences being combined. Are they related? Yes, they are related. Sweater, it's cold. Okay, so therefore, they're related. We are combining them. We're going to use a semicolon. If your answer is bring a sweater, if you say, hold on, let's correct that. Bring a sweater, semicolon, then it will be cold tonight. Very good. Number two, your grades have improved. You will easily pass the course. So there are two sentences being combined right here. Are they related? That's the question. Yes, they are. They're talking about grades, okay, in the course. So where will you place your semicolon? Very good. If your answer is before you, good job. Number three, his mother is a doctor. His father owns a computer store. Are they kind of related? Okay, they're both parents. Okay, they're talking about profession. So therefore, they're related. We use a semicolon. But where will we place the semicolon? His mother is a doctor, called semicolon. His father owns a store. Number four, Suki finished her homework. Then she went to Dana's house. Okay, here in this kind of sentence, okay, if you notice, the second sentence starts from the word then. Okay, the word then is an introductory element before the actual sentence. So we're going to use two punctuations right here. Okay, so we're going to use a semicolon. Of course, like what I told you, this is an introductory element. We use a comma. So Suki finished her homework, semicolon, then, comma, she went to Dana's house. Okay, so that's the right answer. I hope you can follow. So far, so good. Okay, semicolon between independent clauses joined by a conjunctive adverb or transitional expression. Like what I told you, this example right here, then this is a transitional expression. So if you have a transitional expression like this, we use a comma, okay? Like this one here. Kim loaded the camera incorrectly. Therefore, the film was ruined. There are two sentences being combined. They're related, camera and film. So we have a semicolon right here, and then we have a transitional expression. Therefore, with a comma, like the previous example, then. Okay? I like cotton. One sentence, and then another sentence. In fact, comma, most of my clothes are made of cotton. So again, if you have two sentences being combined, okay, and then they're followed by a transitional expression like therefore, in fact, we have more of these. Hold on, no, not this one here. Okay, like this examples. I thought I included them here. I guess not. Okay. Okay. Transitional expressions like therefore, in fact, otherwise, hence, okay, moreover, and things like that. Okay. Now let's try this one here. In the following sentences, add semicolons or replace commas with semicolons where needed. If a sentence is already correct, label it C. My dog can do many tricks. For example, he can roll over and crawl on his belly. So, what do we do here? My dog can do many tricks. For example, he can roll over and crawl on his belly. There are two sentences being combined right here. And then we have an extra introductory element. So the answer is, okay, let's go back there. I'm sorry. So my dog can do many tricks. Semicolon. For example, comma, he can roll over and crawl on his belly. My best defensive players are Carlos, Will, and Fred. Okay. Now, the comma here, is it necessary or not? If your answer is it's not necessary, good job. So we replace it with a semicolon. However, okay, this is a transitional phrase. However, okay, Matt and Jamal are great on defense. Number 3, I have to study tonight. Otherwise, I would go with you. If your answer is C, which means correct, good job, good job. Let's try number 4. I've decided not to take French. Instead, I plan to take Spanish. So the first sentence ends where? After the word French. So instead of using a comma, we use a semicolon. Instead, comma, I plan to take Spanish. Okay, I hope the usage of semicolons is quite clear. So we are moving on to the last punctuation, which is colons. Okay, use a colon before a list of items, especially after expressions such as the following and as follows. If you have the words following and as follows, automatically you're going to use colon. Like this example is right here. I have the word following. Please bring the following to class tomorrow. Your writing journal, this is a series, okay? Writing journal 1, comma, a pen, that's number 2, and your imagination. So if you see the word following or as follows, automatically use semicolon, okay? The primary colors are as follows, colon, red, blue, and yellow. Do not place a colon right after a verb. What do we mean by that? Okay, now, if you look at this example right here, Marcelo's hobbies include, the word include is a verb. We don't use a punctuation at all. no punctuation is needed, okay, because it's a verb. Again, never use colon if it's followed by or if it's preceded by a verb. Okay, so if you want to use a colon, you're going to use the word following. Marcelo's hobbies include the following, and then you are enumerating. Put a colon right there, like these examples, okay? Prepositions. Prepositions like in, on, at, between, through, under, up, down. These are actually prepositions, okay? Last fall, we traveled through. The word through is a preposition, so therefore, a colon is not necessary here, okay? No punctuation is needed, but since we are enumerating different states, therefore, we use comma for each state. So New York, comma, Vermont, comma, New Hampshire, comma, and Maine. Okay. Now, if you want to use a colon, like what I told you, either use as follows or the word following. Like this example. Last fall, we traveled through the following states: New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. Okay. Now, let's try this. Label it, see if it's correct. Okay, if it's not, then put the necessary colon. We visited the following cities: Memphis, Little Rock, Dennis, and Shreveport. So we are enumerating cities. We have the word following. So we're going to place, okay, hold on. Let me go back, sorry. So we're going to put a colon here. Very good. Now, the recipe for stew called for lamb, carrots, potatoes, and onions. Okay, so do we need a colon called for? Is that necessary? No, it's not. Why? You have for as a preposition, so there is no needed. So the answer here is actually letter C. It's correct. Okay? Now, a baby good sitter will have certain qualities. Okay, now, do we need a colon here or not? The last word is certain qualities. The word qualities is not a verb. It's not a preposition, so therefore we need it. Certain qualities: common sense, interest in children, and reliability. Okay, so what am I doing? Sorry. All right, let's move on. We're almost finished. Of course, this is the most common rule for colons. Okay, we use colon to separate hour and minutes when we talk about time. Like this examples here: 8:15 in the evening, 6 in the morning. So we put colon in between hour and minutes. So, and then here's another one here. When we are talking about Bible verses, if you're a Christian, I'm sure you're familiar with the Bible. Okay, so to separate chapter and verse, we use colon. So the first number is the chapter, and then if you follow it with a colon, that means you're talking the verses, okay, or the verse. Like this example. This is the chapter, 22, and then the verses are 6 to 19. Okay? Here's another usage of a colon. If you're talking about business letter, formal letters, if you're writing a letter to your professors, so it should be considered a business letter, a formal letter. So most students, when they say, or when they write email to their professors, they say, "Dear sir," followed by a comma. The proper way is "Dear sir, colon, dear madam, colon," or "Dear Professor Smith, colon," not a comma. Now, the only time that we use a comma, if you and your professor or professors have personal connection. Okay, if you are friends, if you're friends outside the school, then you can probably use a comma. There, Joe. There, Professor Smith, comma, because it's less formal. But if you are not friends with your professor or professors, then stick to the colon as a rule. Okay. Like this example, this Miss Weinberg, their sales manager, we use a colon as a greeting or a salutation. Okay, let's try this example here. The field trip to the park should be fun. We are all going to bring a game to play. Okay, the reason why sentence number 1 is incorrect, we are actually combining two sentences, okay, two sentences, and there is no punctuation. The rule, if we are combining two related sentences, we can either use semicolon, like this example right here, or if you are, if you really like to write, then use a comma and then use the word and. Okay, so the other choice right here, aside from the correct one here, the field trip to the park should be fun, called semicolon. We are all going to bring a game to play. So if you don't want to use semicolon, use a comma after the word fun. Okay, after the word fun. Okay, let me just rewrite it here so you can see it. Just move this. Okay. So we can use a comma here and a conjunction and. That's it. So there are two ways to correct the sentence. Okay, either use this punctuation, semicolon, or comma, and the word and. Okay, let's try this. Which sentence is punctuated correctly? So all three sentences are wrong except for one. Okay. I'll give you a few seconds or a minute. Okay, let's analyze. Mario likes to play football, tennis, baseball, and volleyball. After the word play, you have dash. Dash, we did not talk about dash. So number 1, letter A is out. Okay, let's try letter C. Mario likes to play. Remember, if you have a verb, we don't use colon. The word play is a verb. So this is incorrect. Now, here it's semicolon. Are we combining two sentences? Do you see two sentences right here? The first sentence, Mario likes to play. That's one sentence. Then the next sentence, football, tennis, baseball, and volleyball. It's not a complete sentence. So therefore, A, C, and D are incorrect. So the answer is letter B. Okay, you are enumerating using a comma. Football, tennis, baseball, comma, and volleyball. Okay, let's try this one here. Again, 3 sentences are incorrect. Only one is correct. I'll give you a few seconds or a minute. All right. If your answer is letter A, good job. You got it right. Okay. There are 2 sentences being combined, and then we have the word and then a comma right here. So the answer is letter A. Please take out the trash, or please take out the trash, and don't forget to put the lid on the can. Doesn't make any sense at all. Okay. So these 3 sentences right here are incorrect. Okay. Let's try this one here. Now, Three are correct. One is incorrect. Which one is incorrect? Okay, let's analyze. The waitress asked, "Would you like anything else?" This is a quote. Remember the rule before we have the quote, okay, before the quote, there should be a comma. So letter A is correct. Okay. Letter B. Bobby asked for eggs and toast for breakfast. How many series are we enumerating? Only two. So if you only have two items in a series, there's no comma needed. Okay, so letter B is correct. Now, letter C and D would be your choices. So let's try letter D. Mrs. Todd calmed the excited, noisy children. Remember the coordinate adjectives. So two adjectives right here, excited, comma, noisy children. So letter D is correct. So the incorrect sentence is actually letter C. Why letter C? Henry took a nap. That's one sentence. And then there's another sentence. He was still tired. So we combine these two sentences. We have the word but. But is a conjunction. So the rule is if you're combining two sentences using conjunctions like and, but, so, for, yet, there should be a comma before but or after the word nap. There should be a comma right here. Okay, very good. Now, three sentences are incorrect. Only one is correct. This is quite easy. It's very obvious. If your answer is letter D, good job. Okay, why letter D? There are two sentences, two related sentences being combined. Okay, so we are using a semicolon to tie those two sentences that have the same or quite related to each other. Okay, here, letter C. The field trip to the park should be fun. We, it's separated by we. Then the next sentence starts with R. That's wrong. Okay. The field trip to the park should be fun. Comma. Okay. This can be corrected if we add the word and right here. Comma. And we are all going to bring a game. Then take out the semicolon. Okay. Because the semicolon, after the semicolon, a game to play is not a complete sentence. This one right here, there's no punctuation at all, so it's incorrect. So that ends our presentation, our grammar lesson for this week. And I hope everything is clear. And I am hoping also that you are ready to take your quiz. Your quiz is due this coming Sunday, June 7th, midnight. So you have ample time to review this video over and over again. And once you're comfortable to take the quiz, feel free. Again, you're given until June 7th or Sunday midnight to finish the quiz. Okay, and if you have questions about our lesson for today, please don't hesitate to email me or text me, okay? And I will see you next week. Have a great one. Bye for now.